Hi, my name is Ricardo Corvey and welcome to the Rainbow Room International podcast channel. We've got an amazing origin story for you today. I have the director of the George Square salon, Yasmin, with me today. Our relationship in the brand has been 36 years long, which is as long as Alan, Linda, John, David and a lot of the directors. So we've got a lot of similar timelines, a lot of similar experiences, and I think it's just going to be a really great thing to share with you today. So sit back and relax if you're at home. If you're driving, both hands on the steering wheel and enjoy. Okay, right, Yasmin, finally. It's only this has been about as difficult as getting Prince to play Glastonbury, getting you in here, and I'm delighted to have you here because obviously it's going to be weird, right? Because this is usually just us at a hairdressing event, having too many drinks in a corner talking nonsense about the brand. So we're going to do all of that minus the drink, but needless to say I come with the bribery of said chocolate. So what is your chocolate bar of choice?
If I was to pick, it would be the Whisper.
The Whisper Gold. So you know what that actually means is I don't like either of these, but if
No,
that's
I
all
don't.
you've got if that's all I've got,
chocolate girl.
see, I know. I think we can't we can't introduce that now because Al and Linda were raging there was no dark chocolate, but we'll go with the Whisper Gold. So William has already received his chocolate spare bar today, so I'm keeping that. That is my lunch and my payment for today's thing. So hello. Good to see you.
You too.
And I have to say I can't believe I finally got you here.
You finally
So
bribed me.
let's start right at the beginning. So where, why, what and when? Where were you born?
Okay, so I was born in a place called Corby, which was known as Little Scotland.
Right.
Because 70% of Scots lived there due to the steelworks.
Is that so? That's what it was. That's what they were down there doing.
That's what
that
made a lot of people from Scotland go. Yeah. So my mum and dad were pregnant with me at age 19, and basically had to go down there and start a new life. Mm-hmm. So they went down. My dad got a job with the steelworks.
Right.
And they basically just continued working there, and then the steelworks went on strike, and then eventually it closed down.
Yeah.
So he then got into sales, and so we stayed there until I was 5, and then I moved back to Scotland. Stayed in Irvine for 5 years. Right. Moved down.
West Coast, you're down the road for the salon on the West Coast.
Yes. Then moved to Northampton for a year.
Right.
Then moved to a place called Leyland for 3 years.
Right, yeah.
So by the age of 13, I had been to 5 schools.
Wow.
Which was pretty tough.
Yeah.
But it made me resilient. Obviously, I had to make a lot of, new friends all the time. My accent was all over the place.
Hilarious.
English, Scottish, Lancashire accent was wild. Absolutely wild.
So that was really interesting as well because, for kind of anybody of our age and older, Britain was in an absolute turmoil at that time in heavy industry, a whole country built on the Industrial Revolution and steel and the construction and the making of steel made Britain this great nation, whether it was Glasgow and shipbuilding and obviously whatever, and then to be slap bang in the demise of that must have been mental for your dad to go through that to then, because they talk about these things about regenerating all of these people and all these skills into different things. So to go from steelwork to sales is like a mind bogger.
Exactly. So, and that's why we travelled so much, because he was always getting promoted. So his job, it was always sales and just getting promoted, new company and just growing with that. So he did very well at it, and that's why we moved about so much. Right. So by that point, I was 13 back in Scotland and absolutely scunnered.
Were you? Were you? And
difficult age.
Well, the thing is, because you had no stability at any school, kind of finding out who you were going to be up to that point, it's all over the, it's all over the shop, isn't it? All the kids that really ever get a sort of background a bit like that are military kids.
I know, exactly.
That are usually moving around a lot and obviously parents at different bases and all that kind of stuff. So, but was there anything piquing your interest, like kind of primary school, was there anything jumping out that you were kind of really loving that, or was there anything jumping out at secondary school that you were enjoying?
Definitely age 11, I showed a real interest in hair and fashion, makeup. And what I used to do with all my friends, I'd be like, right, I'm doing your hair, I'm doing your makeup, and you're wearing my clothes. And I used to do like a photo shoot with them.
Did you?
I just loved it, just from such a young age. Just had such an
And
interest in it.
where did it spark? Where did you see it?
I genuinely don't know and can't remember.
Because for me,
I used to go, my mum was never out the salon, so I used to go to the salon with her.
Right, well,
and she'd be, obviously parents was massive
that's
then.
a bit like me
so
then,
you'd be sitting for about 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated
watching the
with
vibe.
the place and obviously the looks, what people were getting done. I wanted to help out. So probably at that point, that's what it was. So it was down to my mum.
I always think Top of the Pops had a thing with us at that as well, because we kept on getting these bands presented to us on a Thursday night, and all their different looks and all their different clothes and all their different hair. And the thing was, nothing... Okay, right, so say it was the 70s or the 80s and it had a generic look, but it was always so different that I always think that jumps out at us as well.
Yeah.
But to start getting that bug at 13,
I know.
You're probably the first person that's come in with it being that clear, that young. I think everybody else was maybe kind of, I didn't know it was a thing, or it's, certainly some of the people, obviously there's doing pals here. Sam was slightly different, obviously, because she's looking at Susie and what Susie did, and that could be an option. But clearly because how ironic, you've already done the whole picture. So you've already, I've done the styling, done the hair, done the photo shoot, put the whole group together, you've done that.
Took the picture.
That's amazing.
I know.
So, and then of course those pictures, you'd have to take them to Boots.
Yeah.
It wasn't as if it was on a phone.
Camera, we spool.
You'd need to wait. You'd wait till they were developed with the wee sticker because your thumb was covering over the flash. So you're back up the road then at 13, and then are you leaving school pretty quick then after that?
So back in school, obviously in high school I just started, I was at the tail end of second year, and my dad and my mum both went to school with Stephen Forrest, who ran the Rainbow Room in Paisley.
Right.
They actually used to go there and get their hair done with Stephen as well.
Which is not about 250 yards
is it? Because that's what I was thinking, coming
where
here.
We're sitting. So you're kind of, where we're sitting in the building just now, if you go 2 streets to the left and keep going down the way, you would actually pass
right, okay,
where it was.
Where it was. So he, obviously my dad could tell, right, maybe hairdressing would be a good career for you. I'll reach out to Stephen and see if we could maybe look at getting you a Saturday job. So he organised that, and I went in on a very busy Saturday afternoon, 15 Royal Exchange Square. Yeah. Sat in the middle of the salon with Linda, just asking me some questions about why I wanted to do hairdressing.
Down in the wee seats downstairs?
No, upstairs.
Did you get a chat upstairs?
In the middle of the salon floor on a stool on a busy Saturday afternoon.
Because there was nowhere to swing a cat in there. You must have been basically right behind a client. She didn't even take you down to the waiting area in the basement.
No.
God, same. Unique from the start, by the way. Unique from the start.
So, had my interview, and at that point I was 13. I had about 6 weeks to go until I was 14. So she said, right, I've never had anyone so young before. I need to look into it and get back to you. Yeah. So she said, you'll do 9 till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. So I did that for 6 weeks. And then after that, it was 9 till 5 on a Saturday.
That's hilarious. Because that's, if you think about Lee and Ray starting the Sunday Club.
Yeah.
And that was for everybody from 14 to 15, because we couldn't start 15-year-olds. You're wandering in at slave child.
I know, exactly.
Well, saying that was the late 80s, early 90s.
Exactly.
Employment law hadn't been invented yet, folks, and there was also no liability insurance. But no, obviously that's why they had you until 2 o'clock, because they wouldn't have been allowed. But so what's this? Was that 90 then?
That was 1991.
Right. So you started. So you started as a Saturday guy in 1991 then,
yes.
right? Okay. So because I started in 90, so that's it. But that's That's mental. And I just, the idea of being that age in that salon.
I know, exactly.
Because it was at full force
Yeah.
then, 1991, and the group of stylists that were in there,
Yeah.
the look of the place, the smell of the place was...
I know. Mind blowing.
I should be 13 or 14
I know.
in there. What's your recollection of kind of going in? Did you get the whole first week induction thing with Alan and Linda?
No, just because obviously I was still at school, so I never had any of that. I basically was just came in a Saturday and just, I mean, it was crazy back then, wasn't it? You literally did not stop.
No.
But I absolutely loved it. I didn't care what I was doing. I used to run to Buchanan Street, if you remember, the big black bag, which was probably about the height of me.
Yes.
The laundry, people shouting stuff, running across Buchanan Street.
What's a shiatsu? Because we'd have the shirts.
Shiatsu,
You'd have your shiatsu team in the going, what's a shiatsu, mate? What's a shiatsu? Oh, brilliant.
So back and forward, ran and basically just did the dishes, tidied up, clean. I just loved it. I did not care what I was doing.
I forgot we used to do your towels.
Yes, you did.
I forgot we used to do your towels. I had to clean that tumble dryer, by the way. I want some of the credit of that then. I'm taking some of the artistic credit of 15's thing because I used to have to clean that bloody tumble dryer before it went in fire. That's amazing. Can you remember trying to actually cross Royal Exchange Square and get into Buchanan Street?
Yeah.
How busy that was
Packed.
in 1991.
I know.
Can't
Absolutely
like trying to
rammed.
cross the M8, wouldn't it?
100%. It was rammed, wasn't
Never
it?
mind, we have 2 bin bags full of wet towels weighing 20 stone. Oh, that's brilliant. And so, even as a Saturday guy, were you going in on Monday night training nights?
So I used to go on Monday night, do the training again, which I absolutely loved,
Yeah.
and it was jumping.
Yeah.
You'd take in your friends, family,
Yeah.
and, you know, whatever it was you were learning at that point.
Because you'd have still had Thomas and Joanna would have been over on a Monday night in 91. Because I was
That's
I was
right,
meant to be a
actually.
Wednesday guy, and I
Right.
had the Wednesday training, but obviously me being me, I went in on a Monday night. You know, especially when the cutting kicked off, and I'm like, no, I need to do more of this. And I would come in on a Monday night to 15 as well. But the only 2 people that ever really seemed to cross the divide at that point was always Tommy and Joe. They would go. Obviously, they were in the art team. They were doing the show work as well. So they were the ones that everybody else was like, on Buchanan Street, and kind of don't go. But they would always sort of cross over. And I think I was lucky to be growing up behind them.
Yeah.
Again, I was a client there, so it was different for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to hang about with John and David and all that kind of stuff, and have both vibes. But so the Monday night was great, but then there was millions of us.
It was rammed.
It was
Upstairs,
packed.
downstairs was
Yeah.
just packed.
Yeah.
It was
So then,
great.
did you have to finish 4th year to then get?
So I stayed on at 5th year. Mum and Dad said, would rather you stay on to 5th year.
Right.
I was very into art at the time as well. So I was a bit like, right, I absolutely love hairdressing,
Yeah.
but do I want to get into like, go to art school
Right.
or something like that? So I stayed on 5th year, got my hires. So pretty much at that point, 3 years Saturday assistant, left and then did 1 year full time
Yeah.
in 15.
Yeah, because by that time, you'd have been doing it all.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Anyway, that way it was just. And did you do the SAM training? Did you still
Yes,
have to do the
God,
SAM
I
training
forgot
with the
about
group? Aye. So that's the only reason it took you a year.
Yeah.
By the way, it was
Right,
probably
okay.
not even anything to do with your practical, but just filling in that SAM book would have just have taken the time, because we would, you'd have got to do it on a Monday night and get it ticked off or whatever. You probably got to do it during the week. But again, that was the first part of your Wednesday. So from 9 till 11, they would do the SAM training, and then
Right.
the first models would come in at 11 o'clock, and then we'd get going. But that's the only reason that took you that length of time, because it would have been nothing to do with your practical,
Yeah.
because you've had 3 years at.
Well, that's it.
You didn't-
Saturday assistant and
They'd
going
had you
in training.
colouring and foiling and
I
style
know.
drying everything by that point. You'd be lucky that you weren't
Or
taking.
permanent. It was
I was going to
permanent
say,
back
I know.
then.
Oh, don't.
Piggyback
And it's
wind.
back. I love a piggyback wind. Do you like a piggyback wind? I'll not dismiss that. So then what you're talking about, 94, 95, 94 going on the floor then?
Let me see, 87, 97, 95.
95, right, okay.
1995.
So going on then, and was it a comfy enough transition? Did you just kind of...
Aye, because I'd like obviously I knew everyone so well. Every single director that has a salon now worked there. So, you know, we just had great times. I was going out. I was very young. I was going to all the clubs and bars, as you do.
Yeah. Self-promotion, it was called. We were working. We were working. We were self-promoting ourselves, getting ourselves out there, being seen at the time.
Clients. So I was very much at a young age involved in the art team then. Again, I was just going out, getting the sandwiches, getting all the models, drinks, whatever needed to be done. I didn't care. I just wanted to be there amongst it. And you'd go in all day Sunday. I don't know how many late nights you would do, you know, and it was just great. It was just so good to be involved in that.
So again, that would be the unique bit of sort of 15 at that point. So it would be, I would see Alan at the back sections, and he would just take whatever assistant had an oval face, he would pull all her hair back and just do that Alan stare for like just 5 minutes, just looking in the Sinus brush and brushing and pushing lumps of hair forward, and obviously this is him obviously trying to get an outline of what he thought these shapes were going to be for alternative, and then at some point these drawings would appear that Linda had done, and all these wee outlines and shapes, and the two of them would merge that, and then obviously it would then be in 15 where he would, everybody would be like, well, what if, how are we going to do this, what are we going to, you know, monofibre getting stuck together and gel everywhere and whatever. So, and that's never left you now, has it?
No, that's it. It's just sort of ingrained in you. And at that point you had like Luke, Coco, Sam, John, I don't think Will and Adrian, I don't think they were, maybe Adrian was, I don't think Will was.
Adrian by then stage. Probably he would probably just be about to go over to 24.
Right, okay.
And David would be going, Will's 96. So no, you're a couple of, you know, there's a couple of years before Will was probably slap bang in that. Although again, I think he jumped as soon as he got to 15.
And that's it. I know, that's
jumped straight into the art team as well. But it's all our constant. You're talking to everybody and going through all the podcasts. You know, we've all been part of it. Some of us have had bigger parts in it, but even the people that maybe didn't think it was going to be their thing realised that they had to. What did you think it gave to you at that point? You know, when you were that stylist at that age, what did you think it brought to the party?
I just, obviously you learned so much. You know, you were just absorbing everything around, everyone around you, what they were doing, and just excitement, do you know that way? Just pure excitement, like just to be part of something, to be involved in it, and just to be so creative.
Yeah. Did it take away a fear of getting it wrong? Because you saw people trying stuff so much?
I probably, because I think a lot of people feel intimidated when it comes to the art team.
Yeah.
And think, oh, I'm not good enough to go along, whatever, and it isn't the case. Like, I'm saying to my guys, look, come along, see if you're just watching, it's fine. If you're getting the teas and coffees, it's fine just to be a part of it. All right, okay, so that's all right. There's always been this kind of stigma that, you know, you're not, they think they're not good enough, and it's
how
like...
How do you get in? You turn up.
Exactly,
you turn up. And again, hopefully, one of the things that comes from all of our origin story is we were all the coffee guy. We were all getting the sandwiches, we were all getting the pizzas. There's not one of us that, and then it was just that, going to wash that colour off. Well, you didn't make a arse of that. We're going to put the colour on. We're going to even just mix it up. You know, you found your position. You found your position in it, but it's obviously ingrained. But I think what would probably been a greater look, an influence on yourself, in that, because in B Street at that time you weren't making mistakes and you were getting murdered for making them, you know, that way. They were about it having to be that way all the time. So getting to see the experimental side firsthand would take that fear away. And I think, as you say, that's such an important part for coming to the art team, is just going, oh, well, that didn't work. How many hair wefts you see getting flung in a bin, or how many wigs that you just go, well, that shape didn't work, or that didn't. But if you got it right all the time, it wouldn't be.
No, exactly.
It wouldn't be very exciting. So, the art school thing and the painting and art at school, did you find that marry pretty quickly with your whole art team sort of sensibility.
Yeah, I would say so. I was very much into design when it came to art. I wasn't great at painting. I was quite messy and didn't really have the patience for it, but certainly the design part, I just absolutely loved, and just putting a storyboard together, you know, like let's look at everything, the whole picture, what the look is that you want to create. And that's obviously what the art team was always about, even now, you know, the art team this year was Icons. I literally reached out to Susie 2 weeks before and I went, can I do this? Because I just thought it sounded amazing. It was such a great concept. And then I thought, oh my God, why have I said I'm doing this? Because I start doubting myself. Do you know that when it's horrible? And then I'm like, no, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. Can't remember, what was it? I've lost my train of thought here. Age?
I know, just the idea of joining your art team and joining your art sensibility.
Yeah, exactly. So it was Icons, and I thought, right, what am I going to do? And every single person that had picked an icon, I wanted to do that. And I was like, damn it. I wanted to do Alexander McQueen. I wanted to do Coco Chanel. I wanted to do Vivienne Westwood. So then I'm like, what am I going to say? I've put myself out there. I need to come up with an idea, and I need to come up with something quick. And then obviously I went down the route of the Studio 54. But like you were saying earlier on, you were talking about, you know, on nights you do things and you practice and you go, it didn't work. Literally the night before I was still like, oh my God, I didn't like what I'd done, and that didn't work, and this didn't work, but I'd practiced loads of things. And I think I'm very much that kind of person, like I can't just wing it. I've got to put the work in, and I've got to work things out. I need to know exactly what it is I'm doing, and if I don't, then I'm a mess. So it is still very much that, as you say, it doesn't leave you. For me anyway, I just...
But do you know what, I think that's an amazing point, Yasmin, because everybody thinks that everybody's rocking up and going. So whether it's the photo shoot, whether it's the hair show, whether it's presenting or any of these things, it's, oh, so-and-so's just good at that. And it's got nothing to do with it. Do you know that way? I mean, no being funny, but you're one of the first, you know, you've done your homework even for coming here and making sure that you knew what you wanted to get across, and that's just a sign of taking stuff seriously and that it's important to you. And the same thing coming with the art team, but it's some of the finished looks maybe winged because you're putting all these different things, but that's a culmination of 10 days of practice and going, like that bit, don't like that bit, like this bit, don't like that, didn't work. That's not going to stay there for the whole time they're on stage, whatever it is. And then you go and do the final thing and you go, bosh. But that's not the first attempt at putting that together. That's the 100th attempt of putting it together, and that's the bit that they don't see. And also, you're sitting in a position of having done, you know, 30 odd years of that. So it's not as if, a bit like, you know, we've probably both done a bit of that where sometimes we can't be in the art team. The business is we're in there full time. You know, you've got the pressures of that, so we can't be in the art team all the time. But we both kind of do that same thing of dipping back in and out, put ourselves back in that uncomfortable zone, make sure we can still do it. But we're obviously scooping back experience from back in the day and putting that out there. But the idea that you've not lost, so that 13-year-old kid that was into doing that in the room and then was into putting that design together is still getting that opportunity and that outlet to do it now's amazing. Exactly. And you're no less enthused about it now. Well, your next podcast we're going to touch on that, because you spearhead a couple of things that the business does continually that are really, really important, and it still gives you another avenue. But that's in podcast two. That's in podcast two. We'll keep tune in for podcast two so that you can. It's the only time we've done that, isn't it? I've never begged anybody to watch the second one before. Like and subscribe, right? So building your clientele, then. You know, I mean, okay, we were in a really lucky position, and I never take that for granted. In that, yes, we had to go out and we did our models, and we used to do all the 300 models and get up to that bit. But those salons were bouncing back in the day.
Jumping.
And with my first Saturday, I had 2 9 o'clocks and 2 9:45s.
Oh my God.
Because there was accidentally 2 pages made up for the bottom half of the book.
No.
So that was my first answer. So
Remember the book
and
with all the names?
just all those names. It was like that. And just whatever happened, somebody'd made up the book and put 2 Saturdays in.
And that was your first day?
That was my first Saturday on the floor. And I had 4 clients by 10 o'clock.
Oh my God.
And the thing is,
I know, we've done it.
I've no idea how. I've no idea how you've done it. No idea how we've done it, right? And the thing that always got me about that period of time was no matter how crazy a Saturday was, we were all still done for 5 to 5.
Absolutely.
We were still finished at 5 to 5, and we were whenever
in
we
the
all
pub in October.
we're all whenever we ended up, that way. But the idea of going on the floor, doing your models, and getting your position. What was your kind of first year like on the floor?
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Mental, back to back, no dry spaces, cut and colour, which I absolutely loved. And I think most stylists nowadays would completely freak out at that. And it is very different now, but it was just the way it was back then, and you learned because of it. I do remember one point, I think I had 4 clients in one point, and I was just going about my day, a bit stressed, blah, 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 doing whatever I was doing. And then this wee head popped out of a hooded dryer and was like, excuse me. And I actually thought I was going to throw up because I'd left her sitting there with Velcro rollers. That was all right. Wasn't perm motion for about 4 hours. And she said, I think I'm ready. And I was like, oh my God. I'll never ever done it again.
Yeah, no.
Never have. I learned my lesson, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I done that.
Yeah.
But that was sometimes the kind of the days that it was that you were literally like, who have I got in next? It was like a conveyor belt.
Yeah. No, but
you were just like, who have I got next? What am I doing? What's my plan? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget that.
And in the way that maybe stylists now listen to us talking about that and thinking, how did they possibly do that?
Yeah.
And then you think of Alan and Linda taking 15-minute appointments and cutting
exactly.
and putting you just think,
how's that?
or winding perms or whatever. You're like, no. And then we're going, well, we're doing spirals, it takes longer, or we're doing full head of foils. You were doing caps, that was really quick, whereas now our guys are going, well, I'm doing 4 colour surfaces on this one client, it's going to take me 5 hours. So it has evolved, but the sheer amount of numbers was amazing. So you would obviously been in that position of first promotion within 9 months, gang, weren't you?
Were kinda, can't quite remember, but it was pretty soon.
Yeah, there was like me, you, Dylan, Robert, all that crew that we all sort of. So if I went on the floor in 92, Robert went on the floor in 92, and then obviously Dylan and yourself, a couple of years after, and we were all that whole period of time, and that was the marker. It was like you get promoted in 9 months, and that's and we were all. And that's I think Dylan was a wee bit. He maintains to like to remember he was the fastest.
He was the one that done it the fastest.
Yeah, we want that fact checked. I want that counted back. But no, he was, and Alan would continually like to remind me because Alan loved nothing more than pitting all the boys up against each other at all times. But it really was amazing. And at that point, was that all that was on your mind? At that point, was just like building your clientele and going through.
Building a clientele, just being promoted, again, being very much involved in the art team. So you literally worked hard and played hard.
So opportunity-wise, you obviously did the Schwarzkopf Young Artistic Team, and you got through that, following obviously in the fabulous footsteps of Sam and some other guy across the road. How big a turning point did you find that in your career? Because it's interesting, I haven't really talked to Sam about it over the years, and it was as big a turning point in her career as a validation thing as it was in mine at the time. Can you remember what it felt like?
Yep, I mean, again, it was just brilliant to be involved in something like that. You and me went down at one point, because I've actually got a picture. We were down.
I drove you all down. We
was
all,
it in a minibus?
We hired, and it was a Toyota, whatever it was, and I drove you all down. And Alan had very kindly got this one hotel room that all like a million of us with the models and all that. We slept for 2 hours or 3 hours or something, and then went in there, and then we did our models, and then came back up the road, and Paul Stafford was one of the judges.
Was he?
Yeah, he was one of the judges. And it was really, again, we were super strong going down for that one.
And that was my client I took down. And did I was actually looking at pictures last night. I'm going, my God, that haircut was stunning back then, and I was maybe 19 or something. Just really sharp, angled, beautiful, super shiny. So it was great. Obviously, we did a presentation in front of the judges, and then just get the bus back up. And then obviously, I can't even remember. Was it a letter we got through the post?
No, actually, that one, Nick Staples from Schwarzkopf announced it to us all in the Fame Academy at 24.
Oh, that's right, because I was unwell that day.
They had a big meeting and all
that's
that.
Right.
And they called yourself. Who else got through with you?
Was it Dawn, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
2 years in a row. I think the first year I was on my own, and then second year I think it was Dawn.
Right, yeah, so that year it would
that's
been
right,
you,
wasn't
that's
it
right.
Staples that had
and
said
then
that?
he'd come up and announced it through and all that. And of course, everybody's going mental, and then Sod's Law, you weren't well.
I know, because I think Sam had called me and she was like, you really need to come in. Linda said, look, it's fine if you're unwell, just come in. And I genuinely was loaded.
Wow.
So I dragged myself in, and because I was like, I have no idea what's going on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then it was announced, so it was great. It was an amazing.
And how was that year for you? How did you find it?
Really great. I mean, obviously at that point, it was in the papers, it was in the Times, the Daily Record. So I was getting a lot of new clients from that. The usual "a cut above the rest" title in the headlines.
You've got to hold a comb, top crimper. Scissors. You always had to scissors, comb, top crimper wins award.
Hairdryer.
I got we've all got them. Oh, that's brilliant.
So that's how I then built up more of a clientele. Right. But always, clients reading newspapers back then, just coming in and building it up from then. And at that point, when I was down there, one of the judges had seen my work, Ruth Hunsley, who worked for the Hairdressers Journal, and she's just recently left. She had reached out to Linda and said, would Yasmin like to come down to London to do a photo shoot for us?
Amazing.
And I was like, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So that was my first time I went down to London myself, which was quite scary. I was
huge then. No, huge.
19,
yeah.
I think.
No sat-nav. No
exactly,
Google Maps, no sat-nav, none of that stuff. It's just you're plonked
and I was
airport.
late, the flight was late, so I turned up to the studio late, so I was really stressed through no fault of my own. And then can't remember what the theme was. Fairy story, because I've got the magazine here.
Right, well, you need to show the world. Because not only did you get printed, what did you get?
I got front cover of the Hairdressers Journal.
And that would have been at what?
1998. So, can't do the maths. What age was I?
12.
12.
It's definitely 12. It was definitely 12. But that's incredible.
So, it was great. Such a great opportunity. So, that was back then.
Right.
In the late 90s.
Right. And were they still doing did they still do the clothes show live and all that?
Yeah,
did they get you
clothes
doing
show
that?
live.
Yeah.
We used to do shows in, I don't know why, Blackpool. Was
yeah,
quite
that's
a
right.
thing.
Yeah, you would have to do the thing at the
stage.
Aye, that was the kind of world championship hairdressing competition. Yeah. But they had this particular bit at the back, and they had salon groups would do a hair show as well. That's because kind of. Well, I'm not even going to go into the story of the second time I was in, because it all became a bit of a riot. But it was a lot of stage presentation, and I think
huge amount of stage.
Did you go to do colleges? Did you get
colleges?
Sent to college as well?
You always had to do the colleges.
Yeah.
And obviously they were putting on their show as well, and you would be helping out in them. Yeah. I remember coming up again. I think it might have been a hotel near here. Fir Hill or something. No, am I talking about First Hill? Can't remember. Whatever it was. You were just always doing seminars, presentations, stage work. It was full on.
The thing that the validation I got from that was just this idea of, and you make these things up in your own head, don't you? Just wee guy for Glasgow, and I'm going down to England, and they're all going to be these unbelievable hairdressers, and then you get there and you win, or you get through, you're picked of the either 8 or 10 people that they picked back in the day. And you're thinking, wow, that's amazing. And then you are in the room and you're going, well, actually, I'm better at that, or I'm better at that, or maybe not as good as that, or I might need to work on that. And, you know, but at least you knew that you weren't out your depth,
No.
you weren't out of place. And again, for yourself, having had all that imagery from the art team leading up to that, it's, you know, the wealth of knowledge that you probably didn't even know you had going into it was massive, and probably not an environment where you felt as uncomfortable as, quite frankly, you probably could have and should have at that time, which was brilliant. But that goes back to Alan and Linda just always plonking us in situations at 17 that nobody would ever get the opportunity to do that. And, you know, we've been lucky to get that, and hopefully we still provide that for folk moving forward. So in amongst all of that, then building your clientele up in 15 and then becoming, you know, not the new guy and building up through the ranks. How did you build your clientele? How did you get your look across? How did you discuss it with them? What was your own sort of model?
I think I was very bit of a risk taker then, so I just always wanted to do things that were a wee bit different, a wee bit off the wall, and again I've kind of got that back again. I think you lose it a wee bit, and then I've got it back again. So I loved just doing, you know, just loved restyles and just doing things that were a bit edgy, a bit out there, and you were obviously doing things, whatever was coming into fashion or creating the fashion, creating the style. Obviously back then we did recommend a friend, and that was massive then. I think it was working out like £7 a haircut.
Unbelievable, they were great, but
bonkers like that, wasn't it?
I built my entire clientele and my salon on recommend a friend, and we're about to reintroduce some very clever way of doing it, but we're not going to tell you.
No, that's a secret.
You'll have to tune into something else. another point you'll need to tune in to find out what we're doing. But I think where we were unbelievably fortunate was we got to train and learn at that peak window between Perham's getting chopped off and GHD's getting invented. So that you either got to do all these unbelievable haircuts and, you know, could you join the highest graduation to the longest point at the front and all that kind of stuff. So we had all that geometric principle and that was all great. Then we had to grow the bob out because the client got bored of that, and it had to become some sort of flicky, soft
Rachel,
thing that then became the Rachel. But that's what that was. If you look back before Rachel, that was us growing out graduated bobs, and that bit at the back. True. What the hell, you know? So we're going to cut the front off now. We need to do something with that. So let's just go in that way. and so that timeline was exactly that. But we all had to style dry it properly, and we had, you know, we didn't have the equipment, and volume was still a thing, and, you know, standing there with Denmans turning the bobs under and all that stuff. So as much as there's a kind of reminiscing of hairdressing, I think we were really fortunate to have got that period. Absolutely. And actually, I think the young team just now are back there because the long curly mermaid hair's getting chopped off. Curls coming back, so weight placement's all in the right place. And again, nothing's flat and soft, so they're getting back into root lift and all that. So I think the young team just now is actually probably at the most peak learning bit from what we had. I think we were
and obviously
really.
Perham's coming back for.
Well, this is it. I mean, we're doing more than ever. I'm neutralising myself on that. Going, well, the guy chopped it off and bleached your hair, so I didn't have to do this. So with that then. And I'm putting you towards your next pile at the bottom here, because you've got all of these ideas in your head and all of these haircuts that you want to sort of gently steer your client towards, not persuade or tell them that that's what they're getting done. And we didn't have Pinterest. We didn't have the Tinternet. No, we couldn't Google bangs. We didn't do what's a shullet. We couldn't do that.
What's a wolf cut?
What's a wolf cut? How did you get your point across at that point?
So, as you say, there was none of that. No Instagram, no AI generating thing coming in with pictures. So back then there
wasn't even intelligence. Never mind artificial intelligence.
We had something called News and Views. So you either had a pile of hair magazines sitting on the coffee table in 15 Royal Exchange Square, or you had a News and Views, which basically I put together.
Superb.
So this is at least 35 years old.
Yeah. We've spent 20 minutes going through this before we even started the podcast, by the way, because this is fantastic. Oh.
So this was what
Christy
I found.
Turlington looking 12 years old in that other picture.
So, and this was what clients used to flick through and have a look, and you would make suggestions, this would work in your hair, etc. So
we invented Pinterest.
Yes, we did invent Pinterest.
But what's really interesting with that as well is that, so you go back to the time, the salon's mobbed, there's no seats, your client gets up, goes to get shots, you come back, and somebody else is sitting in their seat. You didn't have time to go through the magazines either.
No.
You didn't have time to, oh, there's that short bob that looks amazing, or that really great asymmetric haircut. Oh, where was the one with the short fringe? So we were constantly told to get the pictures out, get them in a book so that we had less time looking and more time showing so that we could get the client to do it. But would always get into trouble if you had too many pictures of the same thing or pictures of the stuff that you like doing. But you would gravitate to, wouldn't you? You'd be like, oh, no, I'm not putting that in there. I'm only putting them in there. And you would do it. And Alan and Linda would go through them. Yeah. And you'd go through them in either in the Kaizen meetings or your one-to-ones, go, right, bring your news and views. And if you hadn't changed them, you'd get a rollicking for that as well. But something that in theory seems so simple, you know, we still work to mood boards and we still do all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, you know, you fast forward to 6 months ago and you're putting a collection together for British and you come in that wall in the academy, it's just all of those different images. It's still so utterly inspiring. But the idea, again, you know, things that we used to do that we should implement, again, I do think using views is, there's a digital age in which we can do that now. Totally. But I think that that's something that could be really exciting to bring back and maybe just update the pictures slightly. Not far. Some of them are just as current. So, was your progression pretty much? Was it pretty sorted? You know, did you find yourself going through the promotions and hitting the targets and all that? Were you sort of pre-double promotions? Was yours a pretty organic?
Yeah, I used to do like that, double promotions, 60 retail a month. Yeah. That was a hard one to get.
It's still burnt into me. So it was 132 requests off of 176 clients.
What was that? Is that
32 colours, 12 pairums, 10 treatments, and 60 retail.
12 pairums?
12 pairums. 12 pairums. Still then. No bother. Used to do them in a week. But and of all of the thing that was difficult then was actually the treatments.
Yeah.
Because retail, you still had travel sizes that you could sell 10 of on the last. You like new Paul Mitchell, man, you tiny ones. Used to sell 10 of them on a Saturday afternoon at 4:30. Like, that's amazing. What was the one with the kids one? The No Tears one. Remember there was the sell tons of them at like 5 o'clock and make sure you hit your target.
I know. Because you had to sit in front of Linda and say read it out. On a Saturday night at 5 o'clock and you'd be like, oh my God. I was done 55. I was explaining to somebody that if you didn't hit your retail weekly in Buchanan Street, Alan would make you wash your hair with Head and Shoulders. Oh, did he?
Right, so that you felt the difference. So it's like, well, if you haven't recommended it to your client, and your client's going home and washing your hair with this stuff, well, you need to know what that feels like, right? But the idea that you'd be, it would now be 2:05 at night in the tunnel, and you were wondering why your hair was that side, because clearly there was no natural oil in it, because your shampoo had been washed off, all your hard work had went, but hilarious. Again, we would...
Remember those days you had to run out the nightclubs because we didn't have straightening irons then? And your hair was wild.
Well, mine was wild and then fell out, so it didn't really matter. Either way, it didn't really make a difference. But the idea of all of these business practices that now would get us probably struck off or in the jail or fired or all that, because didn't do us any harm, did it? Some of it was character building, that's for sure.
Totally character building.
So in amongst all this, did you get involved in teaching then as well in 15, or did that?
I did with obviously staff. All the assistants never ever took it any further with the academy, but certainly we had our training nights. Again, I think it was a Monday night and a Wednesday night we did that, and everyone brought models in. Everyone wanted to learn. There was no time back. You just did what you did, and that was it. You learned from it.
Well, again, that's that thing of, well, somebody else did it for us. That was always the ethos, wasn't it? And also everybody, if you're going to use that assistant, when you're knee-deep in clients on a Friday, well, you better have stayed back to teach them. And that, I think that, you know, fast forward to today, that's the most challenging thing for me, is that, and to create that team culture around shared learning at the same time, I think is the most difficult thing. And needless to say, Alan Austin Smith will always say, well, what are you going to do about it? That's the rules of the game now, so you're going to need to do it. But William's looking at me because the ambulance is going in the background. But because Yasmin has watched all of the podcasts, she says that it doesn't actually come through. So we'll take her word for it. That gold star for watching them all, Yasmin. That's great. You'll be sick of the sound of my voice by now.
Not at all.
But yeah, I think that's the most difficult thing, and because one, I loved it. I got a buzz off of it as an assistant and as a stylist, and then as a teacher, and definitely as a salon owner. The only time I ever kind of get to feel like that now is when I take a course at the academy now, because we all start at the same time. We're all following a programme. We all finish. We all get to present to each other, which was what a training night was like back in the day. And I miss that for them. But that has been structurally and financially taken away from us, unfortunately. And I feel sorry for the crew coming through. But that's for us to create another mechanism that still gives them what we got from that. But that's definitely a thing. So when did management sort of creep in then? When did you start thinking, because you're following Linda, right, which, you know, queen of a list, it's got to get done when it's done, it's only getting done that way, you know, where Alan's going, well, I'll start it and we'll see where it goes, right? Whereas Linda's going, well, I'll start it, I know where it's going and this is how it's going to be done. So they complement each other very well. But when did that start to creep in?
So that was maybe about, we had the conversation early 2000s.
Right.
It was myself and Dylan that wanted to have a salon.
Yeah. So did you go straight to that point then? Did you go straight from working through, getting through the ranks and going, right, I don't see myself as a manager or in that role in 15. I see it as in, I want a salon,
Well, up to 15, never even came into my head. I just was so very much into the art team and doing all that sort of stuff. And then I think we moved over to George Square in 1999, would that be right?
Yeah, round about then.
Round about 2000. And then at that point, you were just, there was already managers in place, so you were just doing like, you know, look after the assistants, make sure the duties are getting done, all that sort of thing. And then we did discuss about myself and Dylan having a salon. But we were very much, we wanted to be in the city. I didn't want to go outside the city.
Which is what we said to them. Every single one of us said to them. They must have just went, not again. I'm like that going. Because it was interesting you talking about coming through Stephen and you know, the whole Paisley connection, because I grew up in Houston. So Alan and Linda were trying to put me in Paisley because that was going to be the closest salon to me. And I'm like going, no, I'm coming to, I want a chippy in the town. I come from a family that work in the city centre. I want to be there. And that was their biggest issue with me as well, when it came to, you know, looking at a franchise, and that went, I only want either this city or a city, which is now very ironic because I'm big fish, a small pond up a side street. But at that point, it was they must just have sat there every time going,
here we go again.
This town ain't big enough for the 10 of us, you know. So at that point, you'd sort of approached Linda and Alan about doing it together and taking it forward. And what was their response?
Well, they said to us, what about Edinburgh?
Right.
So we went through to Edinburgh, and it was on, I think it was on Lothian Road or something like that. But the more I thought about it, by that point I'd had Louis, and I was thinking, I really don't want that commute, and it's a long day as it is, never mind 2 hours onto your journey. So we said no, we didn't want to do Edinburgh. And
Will had already opened Stirling by this point, because he did a wee mooch around there as well at the time, but he felt that Stirling was going to be, you know, more of a catchment and be unique within that, as opposed to having to, you know, and historically Glasgow and Edinburgh hairdressing hadn't mixed very well at that point, because
very much don't stamp in
there'd been a couple of folk that had opened up in Royal Exchange Square that, you know, it hadn't worked, and you know, and it was always quite it was quite a difficult transition for all the reasons. And then historically at that point as well, was their pricing would probably have been a lot cheaper than what we were as well, out with a couple of different brands. But the average pricing there, to a certain extent, still, you know, was different. So that would have been unique. But yeah, the time, especially with the wee guy, the time and that travel, I mean, it would have been, you'd have been leaving in the dark and coming back in the dark in the middle of the summer. Seen him. So, photograph of your mum. That's what she looks like, by the way. Put the brush down, right? That's something she's not got a brush in her hand. But no. So when did the possibility of George Square come up then? So we took over in 2007. Right. That was the year we took over. The academy had opened up, I think, the year before. And I think because we very much grew up in the town. And just, you know, you were always about the town. I couldn't see myself working out with the town. Just couldn't see it in my head. And like that, we were like looking at different areas. And then obviously Howard Street had opened up and Linda had said to us, what about taking over here? Because we were managing at that point. So did she suggest it from a managerial point at first, or as an actual ownership? We were managing it at that point, and then she had said, what about this salon? You know, yous are here, yous have got your clientele, it's all ready to go. So we were like, amazing, 100%. That's it is unbelievable, because again, speaking to there's a few different instances obviously, but you're the only one. So you've got Will and Tara going into businesses, Will and obviously Shannon going into B Street, taking over that, and all the sort of trials and tribulations that they had at that point, because it wasn't the same business as it was maybe 5-10 years earlier. You've got Tara going in to Great Western Road, which again was the same but different, because she grew up within that family, but that, yes, she was able to take her clientele with us, but typical West End, you know, 300 yards apart or a mile apart, it's a completely different environment. Whereas you guys actually got to just turn up the next day, back in your salon, and start the next day. But oh, by the way, it's now ours. That must have been fascinating to do it. It was fascinating. It was also very stressful. I remember thinking, like, the first year, oh my God, like, this is crazy, because what was the switchover point? Because that's really interesting, because Tara talks about, like, literally going in on the Saturday night and plugging in the cash machines and getting ready so that everything's then transferring, and all of a sudden it goes from trading as to trading as. Did you have an overnight kind of period like that? Where it was I remember at the time, it was August the 13th. I don't know why these dates do start in your head. That was a day that we took over. Do you know Alan still slags us off for that, by the way, because he's got no idea what date he opened Buchanan Street, and he's always like going, who cares? And it's ingrained in like, I'm 23rd of April 2004. I can remember every minute of it, but I don't know if that's just a testament to him, because he never looks back, and he's always looking forward, and you go through these things and like, I don't know, I was too busy doing X, Y and Z. But the 13th as well, if you're remotely superstitious. Thankfully it wasn't a Friday, it was a Sunday. You were okay, Sunday or a Monday. And I was going away that weekend on a holiday, just for a long weekend, and the whole holiday I just wanted to get home. I was so stressed, my head was just, because I thought, what am I doing here? Like, I need to be back. And then that first year, because you're, you know, it's all very well being a stylist, being a manager, running your column, but having your own business is completely different. Like, it was learning a new job again. And it was pretty tough the first year, just trying to juggle everything. Which you just weren't used to. But after a year, you were like, right, that's fine. And people sometimes think, because at the time, in the inception of the two of you doing it, that's easier. Because, well, you can do this bit and I can do that. But I can also see that actually having challenges, because you're relinquishing some sort of control to somebody, and they're relinquishing control to you. Have you done it, or have you not done it? You know, and especially when it's somebody that you've been a friend and you've loved for all those years, and they've been your best pal for all that kind of time. Was that quite unique as well?
It was. I mean, obviously like that, myself and Dylan have grown up together,
Yeah.
just, you know, have done everything together.
Yeah.
He's like my big brother.
Yeah.
But we just totally slotted into those roles.
Right.
I was sort of very much more doing like the managerial, all the admin, all the sort of paperwork.
Right.
And Dylan was very much doing like the art team side
Right,
of things
got you.
within the salon, within the company. So we worked really well together.
And did you give yourselves clear roles then? Did you kind of do it that way? Or were you just already...
No,
was
I
it
think
organic?
It was very organic.
Right.
And I do remember Linda and Alan asking us, like, are you sure about this? You're really good friends. Are you sure you want to go down this route?
Right, that's interesting.
And we were like, no, 100%. Never once had a doubt in my head whatsoever. And I get why they would say that, because it, you know, could have went.
Oh, no, easy. No, the business is littered
Yeah.
with whether it's family businesses or
Exactly.
friends opening up stuff.
Yeah.
Hairdressing in particular's got an absolute sort of graveyard of these things, and it's a testament to your friendship, and, you know, your care for each other, but also just the not maybe stepping on toes and having sort of clear, you know, sort of paths for each other. And from the outside looking in, you're not taking any crap, and Dylan's not taking any crap.
Exactly.
So it's not good. And you're not taking any crap off each other.
No.
So it wasn't good. You know, you could just see it would be, everything would be vocalised. It would be out there. It would be open. You know, and that would make that work. So first year's really interesting for anybody. The first 5 years is ginormously interesting, but that first year, you know. And you're juggling a family as well, and you're doing that. And I think that's a really important thing that's came out of the podcast as well. That, you know, one, we've very much been a kind of, you know, we've had women in the forefront of the business from day one, and there's never ever been any kind of structure where that wasn't obviously, you know, celebrated. But pretty much all young mums at the same time. Nobody was really coming back after their kids were particularly grown up, so you were juggling that. So did that have pressures as well?
It did. I mean, so at that point, when I'd had Louis, it was 2004, 2007, when I got the salon. So he was 3 at that point, and I just did 3 days.
Right.
I went back after 3 months of having him and just did 3 days. But then obviously when we taken over the salon, that had to be upped, and I had to do full time at that point. And I had great family support, so that made a massive difference. And again, I'm just very much like, I think it's so important to be a good role model to your team and not think, oh, she's away, look at her slacking off. You know, I'm very much aware of that. So I put in the work and just made sure that I was there and present. But it was difficult, but I had great help from my family.
But again, that's Alan and Linda with the follow me charge.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, they were always in the trenches, no matter what it was. They were either to the left of you or to the right of you doing it, and they're one thing. If you step back and they talk about their management training or their business training, is there more money coming in than going out? Sometimes, sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes, and are you walking the talk? Are you asking anybody to do anything that you either haven't done yourself, aren't prepared to do, or haven't learned to do? And they've always done that, and it's not changed any time. I've had my business for 23 years, and they too still happen. Every time they change the software in the computer system, and I don't know how to do reception anymore, and the more money coming in than going out, it stays a challenge. It's a challenge as well. So those two things. But again, we were always given those role models. What did you find easy and what did you find difficult in that sort of first period?
I think just, obviously we had taken over a team, so we were once one of them and then you weren't one of them. So, and I know Julianne had touched on that. So that was, I don't remember it being a really difficult transition, but there was senior people there, and all of a sudden I was once a Saturday assistant for them, and then all of a sudden I was their boss. So that was quite challenging at times. And so I remember that, and then just the general running of everything, just making sure everything was done. And now you just do it, you don't think about it. But back then, I definitely felt like I had 2 jobs. And it just took a while to get into that systems where you were just making sure everything was getting done.
I always kind of talk about it like you're a football captain.
Yeah.
Because you're playing and you're trying to run the thing at the same time.
Exactly.
But then you need to be the manager. You need to be the head coach or whatever they call it now. You've got to be that person as well. And sometimes you're like, I just want to cut hair.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit with my client.
Exactly.
I want to talk to them about going out. I want to talk to them about some shampoo or this new product I found. And I really just want, can I just put this wee line in and just get lost
switch off that brain.
I just want to get lost in this line, that way. And I've actually, it's funny, I've got back to that where I've given myself the time to allow myself to do that and just sit there and go, cutting hair today. And that's actually, because it's amazing the amount of people go, do you still like cutting hair?
Absolutely.
This is the good bit.
100%.
That bit up there's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have that bit, I'd have already been fired by now. So I need to be my own boss. Because I would have been long fired if I wasn't my own boss. So I need to do all of that bit to be able to have the environment that I'm in to allow me to get this hour to just go, I'm just going to comb this bit for 20 minutes and make sure there's no graduation on it, that way. So that's really good. So how long in did you think, right, I've got this?
Probably about a year.
Right.
Full year. Just remember that year. And then after that, it just felt good. Not that it didn't feel good before. It was just different, very different.
There's no time to calibrate.
Exactly.
Everybody talks about that kind of 12-hour thing of, you're in at 8, 7:30, and you're leaving at 7:30, 9 o'clock, and you're doing all that, and then whether you're commuting home or you're driving, and actually for me, I obviously was still living in Glasgow. I wouldn't give up living in Glasgow at first when I opened, and I had my hour journey back and forward.
Which would be long.
Quite frankly, do you know something? I needed
it.
Actually, I needed it more at night time to unwind, and even at that point, you were just running through the day, almost planning your one-to-ones and what worked today, what didn't work today, so that you would get home and you could be present when you got home. Whereas actually I found it more difficult when I started living near the salon and going, I've not had that decompressed time that then I've got to turn into just being a normal
person.
Normal. It's never happening. That ship sailed. But you know what I mean? That way to get to sort of decompress that bit of the business and then go into that other person, which I struggle with the sort of the best of times. And then that sort of crucial first 5-year period then, was it relatively stable and all that?
So I then had Ava in 2009, so that was 2 years down the line of having the salon. And I thought, right, what am I going to do here? And I went back when she was 2 weeks old.
Did she?
Yes. Which she
that's the most
is not happy about.
1970s thing you've ever said, other than the parents. That's the most. I mean, Tana, I think she was like 12 weeks or something. When she had her wee, and obviously that will come up in a future podcast that you can tune into. But
so I only did 2 days for 2 weeks for quite a while, but I don't think personally you can take a long time off being a hairdresser. I know it's very different now and people do that, but me, maybe old school, I just don't think you can because, clients adore you, right? But they're fickle. If they go to somebody else, that's it. Can just take that one visit, you say 3 shots. So I was like, I've worked too hard for this. I'm not giving this up. I'll reduce my hours, but I'm still going to make all these clients come in and work. And you did get a drop off and they went to other people.
But isn't that still interesting that you're thinking like that also as the salon owner? So the stylist in you
doesn't go.
It's not, sure it doesn't. No. You're still checking going, how many did they do? Many colours? That way.
We still do it all the time.
Honestly, I can't go to the guarantee we get the top 10s after Congress and I need to make sure I'm pro rata for my hours, percents wise, still within the hours of at least all of the top 10s, or I think I'm not pulling my weight. And that's positive and negative, by the way. That's not, we're talking about it and going, and it's not 100% a really good way to be, but it's not going anywhere now. That's absolutely ingrained and going, oh, really? And I bet you're not going to do it when I'm that old. And sore and tired and bald. But You know, so that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But not 2 weeks after having a
I
baby.
know.
So did she cast that up to you?
She did, because we had that conversation recently, and she's like, I
Brilliant.
can't believe you've done that. And I was like, but your nanas were there. And it was only a couple of days a week, but
and she now gets to hang about this unbelievably amazing salon and gets to go to British Hairdressing Awards and stuff like that, and realise going, well, this is what Mum was knocking her pan out for, so that I could get to stand here and look and feel fabulous and put all this stuff on Instagram. Because you walk the talk, but that's amazing. And yeah, you know, obviously you could never ask anybody to do that for you.
No, 100% not.
In the papers. And so you couldn't do that, but it's there. People know that, you know, because you didn't, well, we know that you did need to, right? As every salon owner knows fine well that, you know, anybody watching this who thinks that you're going to open the salon up, put your scissors down, go into your office and drink coffee and eat biscuits for the rest of your career is sorely mistaken,
exactly.
You know, because you still need to do all the other stuff. But ultimately, you maybe didn't need to do it as hardcore as that. But you obviously sent a message out and a marker out to everybody around you that this is how it's going to be around here. You know?
It can be done.
That's amazing. So what we'll do is that's your hour.
That's it.
See? Told you so. That's your hour. And you've got to that stage where you've opened the salon, you've got that sort of first year, and you're into that sort of 5-year period, and then we're going to go from where you're at then to where
present.
You're at now. So, was it that bad?
No, it was actually very
See,
good.
it was absolutely. I told you I'd look after you. I know I didn't bring you a bottle of wine because
No,
I thought
that's
ultimately
the only thing
that
that's
would be
missing.
unresponsible of me
I'm not
to promote that. But anyway, listen, thanks very much. Well done.
Thank you, Ricardo.